Welcome to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Solana. This is going to be a higher time frame video. There will also be a lower time frame video linked above, so check that out if that's more what you're interested in. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so we have price history here from April 2020, and what I'm looking at this move to the upside is treating it as a 5-wave structure, as a completed move. Now, this would be looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to the upside. Now, if this is the case, what we would typically look for is a deep retracement for a B wave or a wave 2. Now, if this is a B wave, what we'd be looking for here would actually be this zone of the 733 to this 94-cent region as a typical zone. We look for this B wave. Now we have some areas of interest. This golden pocket, which would be sitting here towards this 314 to this 250, would be quite an interesting zone to me. But technically speaking, you know, we have come down deep enough that this could actually be completed already, because we have come past that 382. So we need to just be aware that we could actually see this look to reverse to the upside. We will go over the counts now. Now, if we look at this descent here, there's a couple of ways we can look at this. Now, we could treat this as a completed move here, in which case we could be looking for a push to the upside. However, if we get 3 waves to the upside, this would actually indicate we have that potential of a continuation to the downside. So we need to just be mindful of how the structure exactly develops to the upside here as to which counter is going to be more likely. So the first way that I'm looking at this move is actually treating this as a corrective move to the downside, where we could argue that this is ABC for an A wave, we get a 3-wave move up, and then we get another 5-wave move down in the C wave. Now, if this is the case, this C wave actually came down to the 0.786 of this wave A. So technically speaking, this could actually be completed here. Now, if this is the case and we're looking at this in this way, we could be looking for continuation to the upside and either a 3-wave move before looking for rejection, or alternatively we could start to trend to the upside in a bigger 5-wave move. So now the way that we'd be looking at this is effectively something along these lines. Now, there is a couple of possibilities for this B wave. I'm not going to go into too many details within this video and like the micro counting, but we will go over some of them. So what we're looking for here effectively is that potential to see a push up towards this 53.74 as a 1-to-1. Now, if we do see this develop as a bigger A, B, and a C, technically speaking, we could actually come back down here one more time and look to retest this zone of the 60.90 to this 10.33. Now, I've drawn this trend line further back here from these 2 points here. Now, this would be quite an interesting zone if we do actually see a retracement down into this level, because this actually could tie in with coming back into this golden pocket, depending on how long this takes. If, however, you know, this takes a bit longer, we could actually see it align more with this 1464, which would come back into these previous highs here. So I would be keeping an eye on this if we do see price action starting to break down here. If we look to find support on this channel, potentially we could look for a bounce to the upside. Now, if we are looking to actually push directly from where we are here to the upside, this would be what this target is here at this 53.48. Now, if we had to come down deeper, what we would be looking for is a 1-to-1 target lower down here towards this 42.59, which would actually bring us back into some of these highs on the left hand side here, between the zone of this 48.47 and somewhere around here this 34.77. So we'd be keeping an eye out on that. Now, we can also argue that if we do start to see a bigger 5-wave move to the upside, where rather we see something like this, where we see this as a 1-2, then we start to see 5-wave structure to the upside, which actually pushes us up past this 113.70. We could actually have a bigger 3rd wave here. So this would be looking for a trending move to the upside. Now, if we do see a push up to this 113.70, we would be looking for a 4th wave to the downside before looking for continuation up here towards the zone of this 183 to this 137 area. So this would actually be bringing us back into these peaks here. Now, the thing is, if we get a 5-wave move like this to the upside, what I would then be treating that as is either this move to the upside would then become a bigger A wave or a wave 1. We'd be looking for a wave 2 or B wave and then continuation to the upside. So this is looking for that bullish potential of seeing a bigger break to the upside. However, this would only be validated by pushing up towards this 113.70. Now, within this B wave here, we could have a couple of possibilities playing out, where we could see this as just a W, X, and a Y, where we could see price action be gravitated towards this 1-to-1. It is also possible, however, that we could actually complete here into this 0.618, and we could see price start to develop to the upside. Now, if this is the case, we would be looking to hold this low, this 1881. However, if we lose that, then I would be looking rather for coming down here back towards this 1-to-1 region, potentially retesting this low here of the 1605, and then actually potentially coming back into this lower target box here that we have between this 1499 and this 1191 area. Now this this lower target box here, we do have some areas of interest within here. We do have some daily naked points of control and weekly naked points of control. The red ones are dailies, the weekly is the yellow ones that we have here. We also do have some relationship to some fib levels within here, but I would be keeping an eye towards this 1374 to this 1329, and then alternatively lower down here we have this 1190 area that would be worth keeping an eye on. Now, as well as that, we could also potentially argue that we have something else going on here where we have this as a, so this would be looking at the Y wave actually not completed, where we actually look at this as just an A wave, we get a B wave to the upside, and then we'd be looking for that C wave. So that was why I'm talking about coming back into these lows. We do also have this target box area here between the 1726 and this 1553, which I would be keeping an eye on if we do move to the downside. We do have a daily naked point of control sitting here towards the 1716 area that would be worth keeping an eye on that level, as well as the possibility of actually coming and swing fading this 1601 area. So keep an eye on that. If we do look to move down there, that could be an interesting level to see how price reacts on. Another thing we need to just be mindful of here is that we could actually see something along the lines of a triangle here. Now, if this is a triangle, this would actually invalidate the idea of the impulse to the upside, because we can't have a triangle in a wave 2. But what I'm looking out for is the fact that this could actually be an A wave, B wave, C wave, and then we could actually be looking for that potential of forming a D wave to the upside. Now, we could also argue that within this count, we could have this as a D wave here, and then we're looking at this as an E wave, but the thing is, it wouldn't really fit the count in my opinion. I would be rather looking for one more push to the upside. So if we do actually see price action get pushed back to the upside here, so the green target is based off of the wave C, the yellow target is based off of the wave B. So if we did see a push back up into this golden pocket area here, this 2571 to this 2531 in a three-wave move like this, A, B, and C, what we could then actually see is this D wave come into play, in which case we would be looking for that potential of an E wave to the downside, and then that push to the upside in a bigger wave for that C wave. Now, if we are looking at this and we want to say this is the E wave already, where we have this as A, B, and C, this would be A, B, and C. We would need to actually see this just turn around now. We can't actually see an additional fifth wave here, otherwise it would invalidate that idea. So what we want to see here is that if this is in play and we are looking at this as a flat, we'd want to see this low maintained here, where we're actually looking at this 1878 as a wave low, we see a B wave, and then we see that C wave to the upside. So we're going to keep an eye on this. If we do just see a three-wave move up, potentially this comes into play where we could see this triangle. We only get confirmation on this D wave here, so we'll have to keep an eye on that possibility. Now, this is all looking for that potential that we're in an ABC to the upside. There's also the potential that we could just have this as a bigger WX and a Y. Now, this is not my favorite interpretation of this count, but technically, as long as we hold this X wave high here of this 48.34, we could argue that this is in play here, where we're actually looking at this as a looking for a B wave to the upside and a C wave down. Now, invalidation would come above that 48.34. We could also argue that within here, if we do see a three-wave move to the upside, we could see this we could look at this move slightly different. So if we see this as A, B, and C, and we actually do break this high, what I would still be cautious of within this count is that we could actually see something along these lines. We could see this is our A wave, this is our B wave, and then we're looking for a C wave. Now, the reason I don't like this idea as well is because this B wave would be a lot bigger than this A wave here, which can sometimes happen. But what this would be looking for is effectively having a flat correction here, where this has been an A wave, we see a three-wave move up for a B wave. Now, the target area for this would actually be higher towards this 95.52 to this 48.06. So the key difference within these counts is that if we see this play out as an A, B, and a C to the upside, moving up above some of these key levels into this 95.52 to this 48.06, and we see a five-wave move play out to the downside, we would have to be cautious of this idea of a flat. Now, this would mean that what we would have done here effectively is just actually moved this X wave over, we would have said then that this is A, this is B, and then we've had a running flat within this X wave. Now, the reason I don't like this as an idea is because we didn't actually reach that 0.618 with this move. So I'm keeping an eye on it. It's not my primary expectation though within this, if we are looking at this as a W, X, and a Y. Rather, what I would say is that within this count, we're going to maintain this 48.34, and then we're going to see a continuation to the downside. So the target for this as a Y wave to the downside would actually be this 478 to this 692. So this would be looking to maintain this high of this 48.34 and then see this drop to the downside in a 5-wave structure. Now, I don't think that this is completed. If this is the case, I would still be looking for that potential of that ABC to the upside, though we can see here that this 1-to-1 would actually look to break this high. So it depends exactly where this completes. If we push down lower, what this could mean is that if we do see a retracement lower down, that 1-to-1 could actually start to fall back into this range here, where we see this 41.77 would be off of the 0.618. So we'd have to keep an eye on this. If we do break down first, then potentially this C wave could actually look to complete lower down and fit that count that we just went over. Now, the other way we can look at this is we can actually just treat this as a simple impulse, where this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this doesn't break any rules. Wave 3 is not the longest. There's no overlap between wave 1 and 4. And what this would be saying is that we actually have a wave completed to the downside. Now, if this is a 5-wave move to the downside like this, what we would be expecting is actually a 3-wave move back to the upside, A, B, and C, looking for a rejection within this 122.42 to this 30 cent 04. So this would actually be a 0.382. This would be our 50% golden pocket here at the 78.29, this 68.26, and then this 786 higher up here. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. If we do see price action start to push to the upside here, we could actually see some of these levels get tapped before actually looking for that continuation to the downside. Now, depending on exactly how high we came here, what we could then argue is that we could actually see price action move back to the downside. So this would actually look to bring us back into some previous structure that we have over here. So I'm actually going to just change this over, and we're going to just put this onto where we could actually fall short. So a 0.618, if we did move up to this 618 up here of the 68.26, would actually push us back down here into this low. Now, if we did actually see a deeper move, we could actually see that 1-to-1 come into play, but also between the 786 and this 854 here, this $4.34 to this $3.42, I would be keeping an eye on this level as well, because potentially we could see price action react off of that zone. So this would actually look to bring us back into this bigger target box that we've got here. So there are some levels within here which we went over earlier. We've got some naked points of control which are sitting in here. So towards this 854, there are weekly and monthly naked points of control which I would be interested in keeping an eye on, as well as that if we did have to move lower down here towards this 1-to-1, we have some weekly naked points of control at this $2.25, and then we have some other weekly ones towards the bottom end of this move. So I would be keeping an eye on this level if we do actually move down here. Now, if we throw the fibs on, we can also see that a 786, so this is based off of the move to the upside, 786 would actually look to bring us back into the lower range of this. The golden pocket, however, would actually look to bring us back here towards this zone of this 350 to this 250 area. So be keeping an eye on this if we do actually move down into these lows. Okay, so I want to go over some ranges now. So there's a few things I want to talk about. If we look at this whole area as a range, so we've taken these two lows here and effectively said this whole area is a range. Now, this would be interesting because what we would actually have here is this point of control is actually sitting towards this 1423 here. We have this value area low towards this 1171. So I would be keeping an eye on this if price action does start to move down there. This would actually tie into that idea of coming back into these highs that we've got here. And this would tie into the idea of something to this effect where we're looking for this as an AB or 1-2, and then looking for this C wave to the upside. So if we did see price action actually fall back down into these levels, find support, what we could potentially look for is this C wave to the upside, which could actually come here and look to test out this value area high, which would be sitting here at this 47.66. Now, if we had to take this high here, this would then mean that we couldn't look at this as that traditional A, B, and a C for a W, X, and a Y, so for that Y wave. What we could, however, have is still that possibility of that flat, or that this is just a bigger ABC pattern where we could see this 5381 come into play as a target. So this is why I'm keeping an eye on this, on these points of control, these value area lows. If we see price action start to lose this zone, we could see it fall back into this next high volume area. Now, if we do look to push up here, I would also be keeping an eye on this area as a range. We do have this point of control at this 3302. So this would tie into that idea of protecting this high, where we're looking for that possibility of this as an A, B, and a C. So I would be keeping an eye on this. This whole area here really is quite a high volume zone. So pretty much from this 4421 all the way down here, I mean down to this range of this 2989, this could tie into actually coming back into some of these target boxes that we have here, and possibly at having the C wave not achieving that 1-to-1, or alternatively the B wave comes down lower and then we still look to actually test it. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. Now also, as well as that, we do have this little consolidation range before we had this drop to the downside. We haven't actually moved up and retested any of these value area highs or this point of control here. So I would be keeping an eye on this. If we do see price action push to the upside, these value area lows would tie into that idea of a support resistance flip, and then obviously the point of control is sitting within this range as well, so you could still tie that into it, and then as a value area high here, we could actually look to swing fail this 3872. So I would be keeping an eye on that if we do see price action push back into these. Looking at some speed fans here now, what I'm looking for is the potential that we could look to find resistance on this lower green line. Now if I zoom in here, what we can see is this would actually tie into the idea of having this B wave come back down a little bit lower. This would also look to bring us back into this target box area that we have over here, where we have some naked points of control within here. So I would be keeping an eye on this. This could look to actually bring us back into this zone where we see price look to actually target out some of these naked points of control that we have here. Now if we did move down here, this depends how long this takes to play out, but we could see this tie into that 702, which would be back into these highs, which would also be back into that point of control. So we're just layering some confluence areas here that if we do see a reaction to the downside, we could actually see that play out. Now looking at this with this descending speed fan here, what I would be on the lookout for is that if we do see price action push to the upside, what we could see is a potential reaction off of this orange line here, which directly above us would actually be at this 4275. We also have this teal line here, which is sitting closer towards this 1-to-1 of this C wave. So if we see price actually push up here in a 3-wave move, A, B, and C, I would be keeping an eye on this. As well as that, if we do see price push up higher here, potentially this 3rd wave could actually look to challenge this higher line here, which is sitting towards the zone of this 127. It depends how long this takes, obviously, but would be keeping an eye on that if we do see price push up into these levels. Finally, coming into the Ichimoku cloud here, what we can see here is that we did start to turn this green, but now this cloud's starting to dwindle and we've actually broken below it. So this could be a bit of a bearish sign here. But the cloud is so thin at this point that the resistance that it's going to be offering is very minimal. What I would want to see here is that if we want to see price action continue, we want to see get back above this and starting to grow this cloud in a green way, looking to build up support below us as we look to push up, and then that could actually tie in with that idea of having a bigger move to the upside. But if we do lose this, potentially what we could see is price action retest this and actually look to break down deeper. Now, if we come here onto the weekly, what we can see is the cloud is much higher up here. And the area of interest to me here is this baseline, which is sitting here at the $60, as well as the potential to move back up into this weekly cloud. So we can see this weekly cloud is starting to build up here. So if we just saw a 3-wave move to the upside, what we could see is a potential retest of this level. So this 1-to-1, like I said, would be up here at this 53.81. So I would be interested to see if we do get price action pushing to the upside here, we could see this actually come up here and still look to retest this cloud before we look to actually have that trend continuation. Now, obviously looking at this in that same way, if we did see price action develop as a bigger 5-wave move, what we could actually see is a break of this cloud on this 5th wave, or potentially a retest of this cloud at the top here at this $136 area. So if we do move up here in a 5-wave move, I would be keeping an eye on this weekly cloud as potential areas for rejection. So this would actually potentially come into testing this swing high that we have here at this 143.75. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on it as it develops. So I'm gonna leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.